Okay, so I just got very excited when I saw that this particular series is included in my most recent replay packs. So what I've got for you today is a top-level game of Terran vs Protoss, a best-of-3 series, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on the map Ancient Cistern. Now, spawning here in the top right-hand corner of the map, playing with the blue Terran SCVs, we have the #1 player from Korea, the #1 Terran in the world, and he goes by the name of Maru. I don't really get to cast a whole lot of Maru's games because he doesn't play in a whole lot of offline and online tournaments. He really only participates in the biggest and the most prestigious ones. The smaller online cups, I guess this is what happens when you earn too much prize money. They're just not interesting to him. It's kind of the same story with Serral, right? I mean, these guys have earned over $1 million in prize money, and at some point they're like, you know what? $100 here, $100 there, I just don't care. Anyways, this particular series is from the Kung Fu Cup, which a lot of pro gamers, yeah, they do sign up for it. I think there's about $1,500 on the line. And this time around, his opponent, playing right here with the red Protoss pieces, we have the #1 Protoss from the European region, from Denmark. We're looking inside of the main base of MaxPax. Okay, so MaxPax versus Maru in a best-of-3 series. I've got a feeling this can be a very good game. Because, well, they don't really play against each other very often, right? So here's the thing. We all know that MaxPax is real good at the game, but he plays against the same guys over and over and over again. Is he really Maru levels of good, right? Maru's been so strong for a long time. Like, let me put it like this. I thought I was really good at chess in elementary school because I was part of like the chess club and I would play against other students and whatnot. And then I played against people that were actually good at the game and I got absolutely destroyed. And it turns out I'm a Silver League player at best. This could actually be kind of rude for the European Terrans. I just realized that I compared them to elementary school student. I'm not saying that Clem and Spirit and Hero Marie, all of those guys, I'm not saying that they're bad at the game by any stretch, but it's the style that MaxPax is very used to, right? And Maru is an incredibly strong defensive Terran who really doesn't die to that Stalker aggression that we see MaxPax go for 9 out of 10 games. MaxPax is a big fan of that, well, 4 gateway Stalker-based Blink army, and he's good at it. He's an incredible... I would even say that he's the best Blink micro player in the world. His micro is incredible. But is MaxPax really going to be able to destroy Maru with such openers? I'm honestly not entirely sure. So we'll have to find out. We'll have to find out. Also exciting, by the way, to see some Maru games again. It really has been a bit. I mean, I saw him playing the GSL Code S, and I do have those replays, but those games were short and sweet. Let's leave it at that. There wasn't necessarily anything all too exciting going on there, so I was like, not really, bothering to upload those to the YouTube channel. Twilight Council opener here, as expected. This gets scouted here as well by Maru, who decided that, to hide that Reaper for a little bit over here in the corner. Just to be a nuisance, hoping maybe that second Adept would go across the map as well, and that he would have an opportunity to catch the Protoss player off guard. MaxPax not going to fall for that trick, trying his very best here to dance with those Marines. Command Center though in the main base here for Maru. This is a, build that I've been recommending for a long time, right? Stop putting, oh hey, the Reaper died. Stop putting the Command Center on the low ground where it can be harassed. This is a relatively small commitment, and if Maru is doing it, you can do it in your games as well, okay? There's so many viewer games that I've casted over the years where the Terran just never gets their natural expansion up because it gets destroyed by like the first 2 units because the Terran doesn't micro perfectly. If Maru can build his command center in the main base, you can certainly do the same thing, okay? You can make the flight of shame from the high ground to the low ground. I know it sucks, I know you hate it, but yeah, oftentimes it is indeed the safest opener. Little bit of respect though, coming out of Maru, right? You do love to see it. He's well familiar with MaxPax's reputation. Alright, now the question is, how many gateways are we going to produce, MaxPax? We are producing 2 more over here. Yeah, we're going to go into 4 gateways in total. Alright. Wouldn't mind drop, heading across the map. This is a standard opener we see very often from Terrans, but this is not something that Maru is showing to MaxPax until that medevac goes into the main base. So MaxPax at this point is unfamiliar. He does recall the Adepts away from there, fair enough, but how much damage does this do? We had some nice dancing in the natural expansion of our Terran. Okay, is he going to be able to pick him up and get on out of there? He will, yeah. And this is annoying because now that means that this medevac can come in for more. 6 probes have already gone down here, and very soon, right, and this is the real kicker here, very soon, MaxPax is going to be microing on the other side of the map. He's going to put all of his attention on, well, those units. Is he really going to be able to keep track of his main base then as well? Because that is where we see this go wrong for so many players. Plus, on top of that, a couple Stalkers are now committed to the base defense. This is not really what you're hoping for right here as MaxPax. Alright, now is Maru ready? Is he ready for some Blink Stalker play? There's already a bunker coming up here as well. He's already got a bunker over here at the front too. One siege tank. He's expecting the first units, I think, to go into the main base. I don't know if that's accurate. Nah, he's going to be committing right here at the front, so that bunker over here, well, it is going to get picked off pretty easily. But this is really just to buy time, right? That's really what the bunkers are here for. To buy time to get the Terran in the better position. Matter of fact, drop, by the way, in the bottom left-hand corner, still hanging out. I may very well end up missing it. The most important part, though, is that MaxPax does not miss it. So if I miss it right here as an observer, you can see his camera sometimes darting towards the bottom left on the minimap. Yeah, as long as he is keeping track of it, that's the only thing that really matters. He knows that there's a good chance, though, that Terran is going to be coming in, dealing a good amount of damage here. There's that MaxPax drop, or sorry, the Widowmine drop. Widowmines could be called MaxPaxes, though. Yeah, for sure. Alright, one Stalker apparently has gone down, but that was excellent defense right here by our Protoss player. Medevac gets away, but this Widowmine, the precious cargo, or at least once upon a time it was precious, does not manage to sneak away. Keep in mind, though, that this is a Protoss opponent that needs to deal damage, and so far it really hasn't. Is he going to be able to do so? Because the third Nexus is still not planted. Okay, finally we're going to plant it down right now over on the left side of the map. Bunker here goes down, but there's plenty of siege tanks available. Darren's gonna finish up their +1 infantry weapons pretty soon. He'll be going, I think, into the combat shields over here in this stack lab. We have the Stimpak coming up. I mean, this is Terran that will be hitting a power spike in just about a minute or so from now, and that army is going to be so much more terrifying. Aggressive blink forward over here in the natural expansion. Siege tank goes down, bunker goes down, but this is also not really looking all too hot. Drop in the back of the natural, or of the main base, rather, not getting that much done either. Yeah, and this is what I was a little concerned of, right? So it's a slippery slope when you're microing Stalkers, especially when you're playing on the NA server. You have like 150 ping or so. It is very easy to accidentally make a mistake. And this opener right here, while it wasn't terrible here for MaxPax, it certainly did not deal the damage that he was hoping for. With an opener like this, you don't have your robo technique, like you have your robo facility, right? But you don't have your robo bay down. He's gonna go into the charge upgrade, and we're trying to sneak out a forge. But this is a transition that MaxPax really didn't want to have to make. And now, yeah, Maru is about ready to go for an attack. +1 infantry weapons is done. Stimpak is finishing up. Combat shields not too far behind. Maybe getting the Raven would be nice, but Maru micros that one back as well. There are still a few Stalkers available over here, just trying to be annoying, fair enough. But Protoss is, yeah, gonna have to deal with a Terran army that will be knocking on his front door here very, very soon. Okay. Trying to just slow this down to the best of his abilities. But honestly, this is a banger of attack. Of an attack. There's so many units coming across right now. Combat shields is finished. Maybe a Marauder gets picked off, but where's the army here, right? Like, I mean, we can warp in some units, but look at the army supply count right here at the bottom of the screen. MaxPax just doesn't have the numbers. And this is what Maru tends to do, man. He didn't really do anything crazy. He didn't really do anything special. He didn't do a fancy build order. He went for a Widowmine drop into defensive gameplay. Right? That's all he really did. And it looks to me like MaxPax is getting destroyed. Yeah. That anti-armor missile also just to rub salt in the wound. He really didn't need that, but in the end, Maru seems to get a pretty easy 1-0. Next up, we find ourselves on the map Gresven. Alright. I like the Blink Stalker opener a lot, but when things go wrong, they usually go wrong really quickly. Like, you lose a Stalker here, you lose a Stalker there, you don't really deal a lot of damage, and suddenly it's an absolute disaster. And then in the meantime, you lose a bunch of probes to a Widowmine drop. That wasn't poorly played right there by MaxPax, but it wasn't quite up to Maru's standard. Okay. Yeah, playing the Blink Stalker opener as well with a bunch of ping is certainly a little bit different. When everything is delayed by like 0.1 seconds more than what you're used to, the game really does get a bit tricky. Anyways, once again, an in-base command center. Looks like Maru at the very least attempted going for a low ground expo, but the probe here was being a bit annoying, and MaxPax sees the timing right there of the command center as well, so he knows what's up. Factory on the back of this. There's the cybernetics core upgrade coming up as well, and he's gonna start chrono boosting out the adept. Okay. So the question is, are we gonna go Blink Stalker again? There are a bunch of other Protoss openers that are really good, but this is definitely a map where you can go Blink Stalker if you want to. There are some other maps where it's a little bit trickier to pull off. Getting into the opponent's main base is doable over here, right? But siege tanks can sort of cover a lot of that terrain relatively easily, so yeah. Not the easiest map for it. Okay, we decide to go for a Stargate start. A start gate. Haha! Sorry. Okay. Is it gonna be Oracles? Is it gonna be Phoenixes? We see quite a bit of Phoenix into Colossus play right now. Not really that often though for MaxPax. I feel like I don't really see him play that build as often. Oracles are good as well, but difficult to deal damage with, especially when you don't know where those Widow Mines are burrowed. So Terrans have gotten very good at hiding Widow Mines out of sight, of course. They'd be burrowing it behind structures and out of line of sight. You have to sort of turn around your monitor to... Well, not your monitor. Your screen would be easier. You could technically turn around your monitor too, but that doesn't do anything. But sometimes we have the Widow Mine hiding right over here, for example. You kind of have to, like, tilt your screen. Not your monitor, your screen, okay? You have to make sure that you see what's going on. Okay, it's gonna be a Phoenix opener here. Makes sense. One probe ends up going down right there. Nothing all too crazy though, but it's gonna be Phoenixes. Okay. So, Phoenixes are fantastic at keeping the Terran player occupied, right? Keeping the Terran player at home. Usually, Terrans don't want to be too aggressive against Phoenix openers because, well, the Phoenixes will kill their stuff at home and then still be back in time to defend as well. Cyclone here coming up, Medevac 2. Is Maru going to be brave enough to send units across the map at this point? I mean, if this was Björn, he'd be trying to sneak it out. He's just trying to fish right there for the Phoenix. Yeah, trying to see where it's located. Wants to see if there's maybe a hidden, yeah, structure over here, maybe a gateway, something like that. Could it just be one Phoenix into a little bit of shenanigans? Not quite the case. As a matter of fact, I do believe that we're going to be seeing a third Nexus here coming up pretty soon as well here. For Mr. MaxPax, yeah. So, MaxPax once again playing a standard macro opener. Cyclone in the main base being annoying. He's not going to scan, so he may as well just fly away. One way to cancel that shooting, by the way, is by lifting up the Cyclone with the Phoenixes and then flying away again with the Phoenixes. That lock-on ability is a bit of a cooldown, so it's available again right now, but it's one way to stop it from locking down. Okay, good timing right here actually though by our Terran player, or sorry, by our Protoss player, coming into the main base as these Terran units pop out. Just to be a nuisance. But here's the Robo facility. And we're just gonna slowly sprinkle in a bunch of Phoenixes, but mostly just try to use them as a stepping stone to go all the way up towards the Colossus. The Colossus, of course, is amazing. Terran now may be thinking about going for a move out right now, and this is a bit of a dangerous one. Yeah, with this amount of Phoenixes available, you can lift up the siege tank, you can kill the Liberator, you can essentially disable half this Terran army with just the Phoenixes alone, and there are quite a few Protoss units now available too. Shield battery here at the third Nexus. Keep in mind that as soon as that Nexus finishes, battery overcharge is also available. Right now we can't use that yet. Love that position, by the way, here. Yeah, trying to put the siege tank and the Widow Mine close together. This shield battery is already out of energy, but now the Phoenixes are coming in from the side. There's that Widow Mine detonation, but honestly, yeah, it doesn't really matter that much. Do we have enough though? Immortal coming in from the high ground. He's gonna try and pick this up once again. Phoenix does stay alive for a little bit longer, and Terran is now forced to retreat. That was a dicey engagement right there. It looked pretty good right there for the Terran initially, but I don't think I really like that move out all too much. So what he tried to do was hit the opponent in the face before Colossi are down, right? Before the Colossus is out, he wanted to deal some damage, but honestly, that was incredibly well handled right there by MaxPax. Now he's gonna start shooting at some of those SCVs. Very annoying. Extended thermal lens, not forgotten here. Very easy upgrade, we see it all the time. Very easy upgrade to accidentally forget, but it makes the Colossi so much more scary. Force upgrade right now coming up as well. Everything's going well right here for the Danish. Okay, so. The Danishman? The Dane. That's it. Yeah, that's it. It's going well for the Dane. Alright, so siege tanks right here at the front. This is going to be the moment where Maru is once again going to be taking up that much more defensive posture. He knows what he's going to be playing against here in the future. He knows where this sort of attack is always headed. So he's just going to have to hold on for a while. Now, of course, there are timings right here where... Our Protoss player can be very, very scary, yeah. And one of those moments is apparently right now, according to MaxPax. This is much more of a situational push, though, because he realizes the amount of damage he's done earlier on, and if he can catch some of these units, yeah, there's one of the siege tanks immediately getting picked off. Maru recognizes he's been caught with his pants down, and he just instantly leaves the game. He wasn't going to give MaxPax the satisfaction of roasting all of his units. Dragon Skills. That's going to be our final game for today. Alright, so game number 1. Blink Stalker opener. Micro was not quite as clean from MaxPax as he was hoping for there. He took a bunch of damage from the Widowmine drop. Unfortunate start for him. Game number 2, though. Maru was like, yo, this guy, he can't micro. I'm just gonna go ahead and attack him right before he gets Colossi out, see how he handles it. Well, it turns out MaxPax handled that like an absolute champ. Maybe game number 1, a little bit of nerves, right? You also know who you're playing against, and Maru has been dominating the Korean scene since 2012? Maybe something along those lines? Okay, maybe 2013-14 would be more accurate. I'm not exactly sure, but it's been basically a decade where Maru has been considered to be the #1 player from Korea. It's very easy for... I would be a little bit nervous too, right? Playing against somebody like Maru. I can actually look up how many times these two have faced off against each other. Maybe I should have done that in advance, but doesn't matter. Maru... MaxPax. I need to make sure I don't spoil myself for this particular result. Carefully scroll down, Loko. Okay, so they have played against each other in 8 different series, with 6 of them going in favor of Maru. Okay, that sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds about right. I think Maru has a win-loss ratio like that well, most situations. That being said, apparently the last time they faced against each other before this particular one was back in the finals of the Pigsty Festival, which was back in March. And in that particular tournament, it was MaxPax who won 4-3, which is pretty sick. All right, so anyways, we've got ourselves a pylon over here on the high ground, out in the middle of the map. Command center once again in the main base. I think MaxPax is gonna try a little bit of shenanigans once again, right? So maybe he wasn't all too happy with the Blink micro in game 1. I think in this particular instance, we may just be hitting before Blink is ever gonna be done. Are we gonna go and add on a tech structure here, Mr. MaxPax? I don't think it would be a bad call. No, it's just gonna be gateways. Okay, so we're gonna go for 3-gate aggression. Let's see. He of course needs to wait until the command center here is here on the low ground, right? I mean, it'd be kind of difficult to get damage done to a Terran that is sitting up on this high ground. This is one of the oldest builds in the book, though. Remember the 4-gate opener? I mean, this is like Grandpa Loko talking. Back in the early days, back in my day, in 2010, the only build we really ever saw from Terrans, or from Protoss rather, was 4 gates. 4 gates, and then, yeah, just a whole lot of units. No upgrades, nothing. One of the things that Blizzard had to change was the time of the warp gate research. So the warp gate research was like, I don't know, it was like twice as fast, man. At the very least, it felt like you could finish it right at the start of the game. So it is going to be a Twilight Council on the back of this. This is, of course, the more modern iteration. Well, first off, it's 3 gateways. Secondly, there's an expansion behind it. And third, there's a tech structure too. Back then, people would literally just go gateway units, and that was it. Adepts also weren't a thing. Alright, so this is catching him off guard though. Yeah, Maru is not prepared to deal with this whatsoever. Cheeky little bit of cheese right here coming out of our Protoss. Making sure that all of these units are firing at the same time. Stalker can be microed back. A little bit more difficult to pull off right here, of course, with the Adepts, but they're actually getting quite a bit of work done. Oh, Hellion trying to get the kill right there on that Stalker, but eventually the Siege Tank here finishes the job. Siege Tank is going to have to reposition itself a little bit further down the ramp. Blink does start up right now on the back of this. Maru, of course, at this point doesn't have nearly as many workers just because of the way that, well, the Nexus has been around for longer, right? Having the double mule in the main base would be really quite nice. He decides to land them in the natural. It's a little bit dangerous here, Maru. But I guess that means that he believes he can hold on here without too much trouble. Blink is gonna be nice, but one problem here is that MaxPax does not have high ground vision to blink it to the main base. This Stalker is being sacrificed right here. That Stalker over there is being sacrificed too. Fair enough, one of them lifts. Siege Tank ends up going down, and this is not really looking nearly as hot right here for Maru. Blink is gonna be a very dangerous upgrade. Good targeting right there, though, by our Terran player, trying to, yeah, pick off that weakened Stalker first. There's the Robo facility coming up as well. Little bit of a Marine drop, but this is not a Widow Mine drop or anything along those lines. Just forcing the Protoss to warp in a bunch of units over here is going to be really, really sweet. Yeah. Just slowing down the advancement. There were already Stalkers waiting in the main base. So I think that this will be held pretty easily too, although not without at least a few worker losses. 5, maybe 6 probes? Okay, 6 probes. Honestly, 6 probes for 3 Marines is insanely good value. Nicely done right there by Maru, who's also starting to hold on over here at the front. Okay, so Blink at this point is done, but there's really not that many Stalkers. This third Nexus, I don't think it's gonna happen. I think that was really just a fake out right there for Maru. Although he could plant it down, but I think he wants to continue the aggression here at the front, won't he? That probe going back and forth to the Terran at the very least, like he saw that, right? Is a clear indicator that Protoss is thinking about making another base, but he decides to aggressively blink forward here. Raven takes a lot of damage. Siege tank ends up going down. Can we blink them back once again? Not quite available. How many siege tanks do we have? Literally none. Literally none. All the siege tanks at this point are gone. Maru needs to be incredibly... Oh my god, he needs to be incredibly scared at this point, right? I mean, pulling the SCVs here for repair is going to be critical, but he does not get it down in time. The Marines do pop out and run towards the mineral line, but the Blink Stalker play right here from MaxPax has been looking excellent. Yeah. Missing a few blinks here and there, but overall, very, very solid gameplay. Now the third Nexus is popped down. We also do have a Robo Bay on the back of this as well, so MaxPax can start thinking about Colossi. Stalkers in the main base right now because there's a Prism over there trying to be a nuisance. Just piling on the pressure, killing even more SCVs. Nicely done right here. Oh yeah, the rest of the Stalkers join in too. I mean, we got one Stalker that's very low still. I wouldn't mind seeing that one walk backwards, but apparently we're just gonna try and deal some damage. Liberator over here, though, also getting some work done, but the Liberator can easily be killed by Blink Stalkers. Probes may not be mining for a little bit here, but I think the real problem right now for Maru is all of these Stalkers inside of his main base. A double Blink effectively available right now with that Prism. 29 SCVs have been killed here in total. Third Nexus is finishing up. MaxPax has got a lot of money in the bank though. He needs to be careful. He does not get too carried away on the aggression. Observer there gets killed, but at the cost of, well, a mule, right? So that was quite pricey, especially after losing that many of your SCVs. Okay, now is MaxPax gonna make a transition here at all? I think he's actually a little bit nervous here sometimes. Like some of his unit movement is really solid, and then others, like if you look at the resource count right now, I mean, we see this all the time from some of the other top-level Protosses too, but it's not quite as rigid as MaxPax normally is. You really should just warp in a little bit more, I think. Okay, now the gateways are coming in, but maybe, yeah, he isn't even gonna need them. GG is called, and it's MaxPax who obtains the victory over Maru.